So here we are, my friends, next video in personal finance. We're going to look at credit scores and we're going to look at the culture of debt. Now, a credit score may be one of the most important numbers you need in your personal financial life. And that basically tells you how you can pay back your debts and, of course, what interest rate you will get. Now, a credit score predicts the likelihood, there we go, that you pay back a loan on a credit card or a car or whatever loan you have. It also dictates the price you pay for money. Let's look at something like what a score means. In the grades of a course, 0 to 100. Correct? Yeah. Credit score, the 0 is 300 and the perfect score is 850. So that gives you an idea where you're headed with that. The better the credit score, the least amount of interest rate you will pay and the least amount of interest you'll pay for a duration of a loan. Not only that, credit scores are looked at when applying for a job. They're looked at for many different reasons. Insurance rates as well, car insurance. And so your credit score we need to protect and build as strong as we possibly can. Now, the Fair Isaacs company came up with this basically, probably in the 80s and 90s and really aughts. It used to be, your income was dictated what type of credit you had. But that didn't always mean a good credit score. And so here's how the number is calculated, the factors. Your on-time payments, percent. I mean, we need to be going for 98% and above of on-time payments, paying your bills on time. Open credit card utilization, or your open credit, all right, how much credit that you have. Any type of derogatory marks. Collections, we talked about bankruptcies early, and they are just devastating to a credit score. Your average age of your accounts, your total number of accounts, and of course, any hard credit inquiries. So, the credit score, right in here. Poor is anything from 300 to low 600s. Fair is mid 600s to low 7s. Good is 720 to 749. Excellent is 750 and above, and the perfect score is an 850. So if you can get your scores, my friends, and we need to start developing that credit score right now, because you're in the prime ages for those of you in your 20s to have lots of debt in the future, cars, homes, also any applications for apartments. Always going to look at this. We want to be right in here. So the average American credit score is 678. Kind of goes in line with what we've been saying, with 70% of Americans, 70% having a hard time with their personal finances. And one more time, you can find this anywhere online, but about top 20% of U.S. consumers have the 800 or above. Top 40 here, 740 to 799. The 750 is really want to be. And then, of course, it goes down and down. Now, not everybody has a credit score, all right? Obviously, children don't under 18. And some other people don't either. So this is a very select group here, and we want your scores. Why should I care about this? Well, let's look at this. Let's look at the price. Say you got a 4.25% mortgage. Now, right now, depending on where we are in the economy, they're pretty low. They're actually in the low 3s, maybe high 2s for perfect credit. But let's say you got a 425 versus a 725, so 3 percentage points. That's $100,000 of interest over that loan. See why that's so important? A 1.9% car loan versus 14. 325 versus, and we're basing this on just a basic kind of a Corolla car payment versus 625. Hey, at 625. You should be driving a Tesla or a Rover or a Benz, Lexus, a BMW, whatever, your dream car, not a Toyota Corolla for $625 a month. So yeah, and of course we've talked about careers. Again, your security clearances, the career you get into, your apartments, your insurance, credit scores are used for a variety of reasons. How should I maintain one? Okay, we know why we need one. We need credit wisely. Now, if you have a credit card, great. If you do not have a credit card, I would suggest that you get one. Now, you may be in a situation where you say, I don't really have a job, and I don't know if I can get a credit card at all based on my employment history. Well, if you have a bank account, you can go to a bank, and you can ask for a secured credit card, and they'll basically take money from your bank account, savings account, Let's say you want a $500 limit, they would take $500, and they may even take $550 or $600, and they will partition that. That is your credit limit. Now you have a $600 credit limit. If you were not to pay, they would take it from that account. And that's a good way to start if that's your only option. Use your credit card. Charge 20, 30, 40 bucks a month and pay it back every month. Get on bill pay. Never miss a payment. This is just great ways of getting back, paying back your credit. Now, there's been the arguments in the older times that say, well, shouldn't I pay a little interest, like charge $1,000 and then pay it off a little bit at a time? You don't really have to do that. You're paying back every month. That's what we're really looking at, is your payment history. So don't worry about charging a big amount. Charge 30, 40 bucks. Pay it back immediately with your bill pay. You could literally pay for something, and then of course you could just transfer your funds to that payment same day. Never miss a payment. Call if you're going to be late. We've always missed. All of us have missed a payment sometimes. Life is crazy. Things go by fast. But and if you miss a few payments, you can go into what's called universal default, and that's not good. That's an illegal tactic that I discuss much more in my personal finance class. But we don't want that to happen. If you're ever going to be late, or if you are late, just call immediately. Say, I'm sending the money right now. I can't believe that. Could you waive the fee? Usually you get one fee waive every couple of years. And so, but pay something. Make sure you pay the minimum at least. But try to pay back the small amounts. Not going over 30% of your credit limit. So that's the credit card utilization. So if I have a $1,000 limit and I'm putting $600 of credit spending on there, my credit score, get that over here, is going from here to here. Those are real credit hits right there. Never want to go over 30% of our credit limit. That's when the credit score starts going down. Now, here's what we can all do right now. If you've had a credit card for a while, and you need to have one for at least a year or so before you can do this, call your credit card company, ask to raise your limit, tell them you're going to buy a computer, some sort of a bigger purchase. They'll want to know your income. They're a little bit more intense now than they were back in the days of just wild, crazy Western credit, where just the Wild West of the credit. Anyone got one, a dog could get a credit card if you, had it named right. You literally, I'm serious. But now it's a little bit different, but ask to call your card company. It's not going to be a big deal. If they say no, okay. If they say, what do I need to do to get it raised? But always get a big limit, because when you have a larger limit, let's say you have that $1,000, you only have $200 on it, and they put it to $2,000, now your credit score is going up. Good ways to increase that score. Also, again, I'll go into much more detail in another class on this, but this is how important your credit score is. So get that credit card, start charging a little bit, pay it back every month. Don't go over your limit. If you're ever late, you call. And you need to have a long credit history. You don't want to do this when you graduate college and then you're trying to get that car, better apartment, or whatever. You need to have some history behind you. So again, 3, 4, 5 years of history will really help you out. 10, 20 years of history gets you up into the, how do you get the 850? You've got to have 10 plus years of excellent credit and a very low usage rate, which means you've got a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 worth of credit limit, and you're only using maybe $500, $600 of it. And you've had that long history. That will help you. The credit score will be huge for you in your personal life. So definitely don't think that you shouldn't have a credit card or you shouldn't have a credit score. I think that's some bad advice that's being handed out there over the internet. Culture of debt: the borrower is servant to the lender. That was King Solomon, who was known as the wisest, wealthiest person in the world. And so if you just take him for that, just the wisest and wealthiest person to live, his wealth contributed today, if you took into inflation what he could buy with it, was in like $100 trillion. It was crazy amount. So here's his advice to you: the borrower is servant to the lender. Don't get in crazy amounts of debt. What we just discussed was a strategy to build a credit score. And this is hardcore right here, my friends. Student debt has gone out of sight. It's gone out of sight in a very small amount of time. About 2003, 2004, this number represents every person who ever took out a student loan. So your parents may still be paying back of some of their student loans. It is now over 1.6 trillion. We got to go out to 2020. It is more than credit card debt. It is more than car debt. That's never happened before. You can see that's never happened before based on the graph. It's a bad deal. And so we have to be very strategic in how we utilize our debt. The average college student are graduating with somewhere around 40 grand worth of debt, 6,000+ in credit card. 50% of all college loans are in deferral. And the only way it can be in deferral is if that person does not have a job. And these interest rates that they are charging, especially on the private loans, are considerable. They're at 8%. So real quickly, that $40,000, you don't have a job. You want to defer it. You go to graduate school. Many students do that. And they don't make a payment for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Well, at 8%, that number doubles every 9 years. So when someone gets through with some of their extra postgraduate education and maybe they had a couple of rough years, that may be $80,000. Yikes. You take every class you can at Tarrant County College, then you transfer, and then you find ways to pay back things ruthlessly. 56% of all students balance around $37,000 in Texas, those who have loans. Be careful. You can borrow $5,500 from Tarrant County College. We're a direct loan institution. It's directly from the government. We cannot deny if you have at least 6 hours and in good standing. I'm going to pay for car expenses. It all adds back up. It all adds back up. Only borrow what you need for classes and books. And if you ever get a remainder, certainly at the bigger schools, you may go to a private school, you may get a scholarship. They're still going to say, hey, would you like to borrow some money? But I've got my scholarship and everything looks good. Yeah, but you got living expenses. We can still loan you 20, 30 grand. And you're saying, oh, that's sweet. I can have some fun with that. Well, things like that are pleasurable for a short time. And then you have the rest of life to pay that back. So please send those things back. Send that back. When you get rid of that degree, and I've got some different strategies for you based on this debt snowball coming up, and you pay it back ruthlessly. Live at home. Do extra money for your payments. Everything you can to pay that loan back as fast as you possibly can. So if you're going to live at home and you're going to say, well, it's $950 for an apartment. What if I put that $950 into my student loan debt and I could pay that off versus 20 or 10 years, you could pay it back in 3 years and you're done. And now you got the rest of your career to do well in. Be very careful. Absolutely. Those student loans add up crazy amounts of money. The culture of debt, we are spenders. We know that. We've been spending well over our means for a very long time. We have lots of consumer debt. That's just credit cards and car loans. Student loans sometimes can be thrown in there as well. Sometimes they're extra. So, some of the profiles right in here. $8,000 in credit card debt, $18,000 loan, $40,000 on a student loan right there. And that's kind of a consumer right there. Just one. If let's say both of, for a millennial or a zillennial coming up, you and your partner may both have student loans, both have cars, both have credit card debt to that amount. So you could just put 130 on there before we've even thought about purchasing a house. So I want to get those debts as low as possible, my friends. Do the ruthlessness that you'd have to do to pay these things off. We've been cultured into it for the past 20 years, and this new millennia, which is not so new anymore, we have been force-fed credit, credit, credit. It's the best way to shop. And if you can use it strategically, it does work, but boy, it's easy just to go put a quick grand on that card and buying some fun stuff, and then that stuff, you don't even ever going to see it again. And these companies know it. They spend tons of money, $100 million a year in marketing costs just to get you to sign up. There's something about the psychology of that first card. If you have a credit card, you may keep the first one. I think I still have my first the company. It was a Citibank. That first one that gave it to me. And you believed in me. Great, thank you. And so you keep that. That's why they want to get it into your hands as soon as they can. On a college campus, anywhere, they'd love to go to high schools if they could. It's just illegal. It's also legal to go back onto college campuses, but it is done. So their profits, their net profits of the three big ones, MasterCard, Visa, Amex, it's about $30 billion a year. So you imagine what their sales are. They're in the trillions of processing for that $30 billion. The rules of engagement, what I said earlier was a strategy. We're building a credit score. It is hard to beat them at their game. You've all heard of 90-day same as cash. 6 months, no interest, no payments. 84% of the time, consumers get nailed with backdated interest. I believe the majority of the house rules in Las Vegas, they operate on about a 71% chance of winning. So these guys are better than Vegas right here, these companies. Be careful. Again, late fees. They love those late fees and over the limit fees. Why? Because that's a profitability. That's an easy profit. 30% of profits come from those extra fees right in there. They don't mind if you're late. They're going to nail you with it. They're going to add more interest and more payments. And if you're over the limit, there's another fee right there. Careful, 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 my friends. Okay. This is interesting. It's called the Ultimate Home Theater. If you went out and purchased 10 grand on a credit card for that cool Ultimate Home Theater, you got a credit card interest rate of 13%. That's pretty good. And you paid $150 a month on just that card. That's a pretty good payment. How much and how long? 10 years and 18 grand. How good is that stereo system, the TV, after 10 years? It's probably not even working. 4.5 years, you paid $8,000 worth of interest. In 5.5 years, you paid the debt off. You spent the next 4.5 years just paying interest. That's at 13%. Yeah, most people, that's kind of the 800 credit rating and credit scores and above can get that rate. 18%, that's much more realistic. You're paying $150 a month. It will now take you 30 years. Same amount of money, just the interest rate. Now we know how fast money doubles. And $54,000. Once again, 5.5 years paying off. The next 20-something years, you have paid $44,000 worth of interest. At 29%, which a lot of cards are, it won't compute because you wouldn't be alive. You couldn't pay it off. You'd have to put like a 250 to 300, and it comes back to there. Even at $300 a month at 29%, comes right back to 30-something years and this much money. It's a game theory, my friends. You don't want to be on the wrong side of this game. Save that money, paid in cash. In fact, go to your friend's house who has the Ultimate Theater and watch the game and watch all the cool movies there and then leave because they're going to get burned. The worst loans ever are payday loans. Please, if we've ever made one, then we know how bad they are and we'll never do it again. These are really rip-off places, and they're all over the United States, and they're all over Europe. I don't think there's Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King. Those used to be the three real big chains for us fast food. There's more payday loans than all of those combined in the United States. Their yield, if you just paid back the loan on the term, so a payday loan is this, it's the 20th of the month, and I get paid on the 30th or 31st, and I'm out of money. I go to a payday loan lender, all right? I go to Rory, my brother. He's a payday loan lender. No, he's not, but I'm just going to make him, use his name there. He says, okay, Randy, I get you $300. Here it is in cash, and he counts in 20s, maybe even 10s. It looks great. He says, here's your debit account, all right? You got an account. I'm gonna on the 5th of the next month. All right, we'll give you 5 days after that to pay. You're going to debit for $350 for the $300 loan for basically a 2-week loan. I say, oh man, Rory, you're amazing, thanks. And I go off and I buy my stuff. If I just did the interest rate on that alone, it's 900% effective yield for them. That's not a good interest rate to get. Unfortunately, they know who their target audience is, and they're what we would call the unbanked population that just don't have a lot of access. They didn't have a course like this to finances and to financial institutions, and they go back in and on that 5th and say, "Hey, Rory, don't hit my debit account because I'm not going to make it this month." So okay, I tell you what, Randy, we won't. But here's what we're going to do: we're going to do another $50 charge and another $50 for a late fee and an extra fee. They don't call them interest rates; they just call them fees. That's how they get around usury interest laws. There's many a person who has taken out a simple $300, $500 loan and ended up owing thousands, even $10,000 because they keep hitting those numbers, $100 extra every month, maybe even 150. And they have full immunity. They cannot be dismissed in a bankruptcy court. They're coming after you. By the way, a student loan cannot be dismissed in a bankruptcy court. And many students think, well, I'll just borrow all this money and then I can't pay it back, and I'll declare bankruptcy and protect myself. These loans and student loans, they'll keep adding on your interest. They're not bankruptable. So they're coming after you no matter what. Never, ever, ever go to these places. Co-signing a loan, helping a friend out. Well, if your friend couldn't get credit, they're going to use your credit, and they're going to come after you. If I loan Rory some money and Rory goes to Vegas and then he's in somewhere in Acapulco trying to escape the United States, and I co-signed for a car for him, and here comes the credit company knocking on my door and said, hey, Randy, man, Rory owes $25,000 on this 2-year-old car. He's never made a payment. We're coming after you. I said, wait a second. Rory's in Acapulco, man. I know exactly where he is. I said, we don't care where Rory is. You signed the cosign. You are legally responsible. We're coming after you, and that looks like a nice car you have. Here's your debt, and we are taking you right to court. So you better start paying something up or pay up that loan as fast as you can. Don't ever cosign for anybody. Give a friend, give a brother, a sister, a relative, give them a couple $100. Say, hey, you know what? Here's what I can do. I can help you mow grass. I can help you paint a house. I can help you do anything, physical labor here. I can try to help you get a job. I can give you a couple $100, but that's the extent I can do it. I am not going to, I've got enough problems of my own, enough challenges in life than to accept all of your debt on this thing, on this loan. Don't do it. Cars are never investments, my friends, unless you're driving a Bentley, and even that. A new car loses 60% of its value. A great magazine to always get is Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports is the most unbiased rating system out there because they buy every vehicle, they buy every product. They have engineers. They have a pretty good team of engineers that will test every product, and they'll test the cars. And so and then they'll sell them, but they're not sponsored by anyone. They're sponsored by you if you have a membership. So I would definitely say get one because it'll help you to get the best purchases in life. Here's their valuation. You buy a $28,000 car, not a truck, but a car. It's going to lose $17,000 in 4 years, making it worth $11,000. Hey, that's when you go buy that car. You buy that $28,000 car when it's a little over $10,000, and it still could be in really good shape. But the idea here is if you did some math of what it's losing, you go out and buy a brand new car. Of course, you drive it off the lot. You just lost $2,500 to $3,000. Every week, take $100 out of your wallet, $100 bill, and throw it out the window as you're driving that brand new car. That's how much you're losing on it. That's pretty crazy. That's why they're not an investment. They're depreciating. You want investments that appreciate in value. Average cost of a new car, friends, is about $760 a month because you got to factor in gas, labor, depreciation, and your car payment. You may want to be honest versus look good in life, and buy yourself a good used car and then drive the wheels off of it. Mortgages, definitely, this is what I would consider a good debt to make because it's an investment debt. Probably one of the best investments you'll ever make is your home. So get the one that you can afford and hopefully you like. Try not to buy more than you can. It's a crazy time right now in Dallas-Fort Worth area because there's such a housing shortage. And the reason there's a housing shortage is so many people have moved into the Metroplex. Again, over 1 million just since COVID and during COVID because this is the hot place to be. So as you're looking, probably you don't even have to look at the price as much as you need to look at the mortgage, and you need to look at your house payment. Let it be no more than 35% of your take-home pay, and make sure that's house payment, taxes, insurance, and if you want to go conservative, add some monthly upkeep to your home because homes cost money. It's the joys of home ownership when a water heater breaks, when a dishwasher breaks, when carpet needs and flooding happens. So you want to add all that up as your total payment and then make sure it's no more than 35% of take-home pay. The reason being, you need to eat. You have cars, you have other things that you may need right in there. And so, again, if you don't have a car payment, you may be able to massage those numbers up a little bit more. But, you got to have other stuff as well. But I think that will help you as your calculation for your mortgage payment. wealthiest people in the world, and those who have been self-made millionaires basically say, let's become debt-free. So the first thing to do that would be stop using debt for payments, for purchases. When I say that, our everyday purchases we tend to use a lot of credit with, and maybe clothes and the fun things. Hey, pull that back. Stop using the debt and let's pay off our debt. The best way to do that is what we call through a debt snowball. So the first thing we need is that $3,000 in cash somewhere where we can pay for any sudden expenses, more like an emergency expense that we're not unexpected to happen. Not the TV, not the clothes, not the cool stuff. All right, and then we list our debts in order. Order it smallest to largest, and then we're going to pay that off. It's going to look something like this. Let's say I have a few debts here. I have a Dillard's, Nordstrom's, Visa, and my car payment. All right, and so I have my total payoff, my total balance right now, my minimum payments. Okay, and then we add the next payment in. So let's say on Dillard's, let's say you bought something on Dillard's, pair of shoes, $200, and you go, I just watched this video. I've listened to the lecture in class. I'm looking at my booklet. I want to start getting out of debt, and I don't have too much. I can knock this out. So you automatically pay off your Dillard's. Maybe you had a little extra cash somewhere. Maybe you sold something. Not the shoes, of course, but something else. So here's what we do. We had the $20 minimum payment to begin with. Now we have nothing. What most Americans do is go back and charge more on the Dillard's card. Take this payment, add it into your Nordstrom's payment. This is how the snowball works. It's small to large. So my new payment is $75 for Nordstrom's. Okay? And I keep doing that. All of a sudden, once Nordstrom's is gone and I had less payments, add this Visa. And so now I rolled the 75 into the 60. I have 135. Wow, that's pretty sharp because now you're doubling up that payment. And you can do the same thing in a student loan. You could just make your payments bigger and knock those loans out like I was saying earlier. And now you've got that down to a smaller amount. Once you paid off this Visa, all right, you have 135. You roll that into your car payment. So now my new car payment is $424. You see, the $424 was what everything was to begin with. We knocked out one, we rolled it. We knocked out this one, we rolled it. We knocked out this one, we rolled it into there. So we were always paying $424 for the 4 debts that we had. Now it's all into this, and this car payment is gonna, we're gonna blow this pretty quickly. In about 15 months, we can pay that whole thing off. That is a debt snowball. So whenever you have, and I have these sheets for you, again, in the booklet and online, you have a problem like this, list out your smallest. Don't be concerned with interest rates, because once you pay something off, the psychological effect is, I've won. I can do it. I can now do it for the next. I can now do it for the next, and I can knock this thing out. Always using the same amount of money. Now, that's what we do. Attack mode, small, do what we have to do, focus our attention, and keep stepping up that next larger bill. Of course, what we could have done there, and that 424, if I go back real quick, you may have said, man, I've got some extra money. I could put 524. I could put extra money into that and really knock that thing down even more so. That's how you get aggressive and you take control of your finances and you can take control and get out of debt. Now, what if things do go bad? Hey, it happens. All right? Get on that written budget. You contact your creditors. Never think that these people are nice. Never think that they're going to work with you without any communication. They will work, possibly, if you're telling them what's going on and how you're going to get out of this. If you don't pay in a certain amount of months, and if it's a healthcare bill, it could be 1 or 2 months. They'll send it to collections. Once it goes into collections, you got no hope. These people who buy the debt, they bought it for pennies on the dollar, maybe. Okay, so $1,000 debt, hospital debt, they may have given the hospital $100 for that, and now they're going after you for the 1,000, and they're not going to stop. So you got to contact. Don't wish them away. Contact them. Work the snowball. Sell stuff. Hey, maybe you got to get rid of that car payment. Maybe get rid of the car and get something different, something real cheap. List those small to large. Get in that attack mode, and it's okay if you can't pay everything off, but contact the people. All right. and plead mercy, you know. But once it goes into collections, you just can't do that. Because they got nothing. They got nothing they have no reason to help you because they bought that for nothing, and they're going to go for your debt. I mean, you can offer an offer and compromise, but it's got to be very close to what they have. So always contact. Don't let it get into collections. Don't let them sell that off. There is something about debt harassment that a lot of people have found. It's called the Fair Debt Collections Act of 1978. So that's an old one, but you cannot use abusive tactics in collecting the debt. I can call you at work if I'm a debt collector. I can always call you and say, you know, Randy, you are well behind on this debt. How do you want to pay this off? And again, you can always ask for, is there an offer in compromise? Once you agree to whatever offer, you have to start paying that debt down very fast. You know, at least on a month, you can never miss a payment. If you ever miss a payment, it goes back to the original amount. But at least you know that if you ever are being harassed by a debt collector, say, I'm recording the phone call because you're in violation of the Fair Debts Collection Act. You're using abusive tactics in collecting this debt. Usually they'll never call back again, but you still owe the money. I hope that helps a little bit right there. A lot, actually, to start getting that credit score strong, limiting your amount of money you're going to borrow for your college education. We're going to have some debt, but let's see what we can do to get the best of that paid off. And what are some things we should go in debt for? Obviously, our house, yeah, and maybe a car, but not brand new, you know, buying a good used one, and getting rid of debt as fast as we can, especially the consumer debt, so you have more of your money to do what we're going to talk about next. That will be investing.